Hey, what's going on, everybody? Henry Kaminski here from uniquedesignz.net. And I want to share with you a quick little story about why branding is not just about pretty websites and logos. And I did a post over the weekend and I got some great feedback on it. And I want to kind of reflect on it because I know a lot of you guys hear me talking about how quality design matters. And if your website looks like it was built in Wix by a third grader, that it's not going to establish the trust. And I don't want everybody to get caught up on brand identity when there's so many other layers of branding that we need to pay attention to, like brand messaging and brand experience, as a couple, as a few additions to the whole branding picture. So I'm going to share with you a quick story and explain to you how branding is much deeper than a pretty logo and a pretty website. So about 10 years ago, I started my career in the nightlife industry. I designed like the nightclub flyers when you used to go to the club and you used to park your car and they would come while you're in the car, while you're in the club and spray your car with those flyers. Well, that's how my career started. I started designing those for one place, and then I got really good. And next thing you know, I was doing it for the whole tri-state area. Every nightclub you could imagine I was designing for. And, it was cool at the time, but like almost 100% of my revenue came from one industry. And what happened was the industry got very saturated with other designers. Everybody was undercutting each other. It was sort of it was so cutthroat where I knew I had to get out and I had to figure out another industry to serve, or else I was going to it was a big race to the bottom. By the time I got out, I mean, people were doing designs for like $25 a pop, and that's just not going to pay the bills anymore. So anyway, I started to venture out, and I was asking myself, what is the next market I can serve that is somewhat similar to the nightlife industry? And that industry was the restaurant business. So what I did was, a couple of my buddies owned a couple of restaurants. And I went to them and I looked for opportunity. I saw some deficiencies in their menu. I saw some deficiencies in their website, and I offered to, again, I didn't have any restaurant clients. So I offered to redo some of their menus and redo some of their website pages, and eventually got them to hire me to do more paid stuff. But one of the things that I did prior to all of that was, when I sat down with my buddies, I asked them, what their mission was for the restaurant. What was their vision of the restaurant? What did they want their restaurant? How did they want their restaurant to be seen by their target audience or by their customers? And so once I got behind the why of their restaurant, it helped me tremendously understand their brand. Right. And some of the one restaurant had amazing food, amazing wait staff. I mean, you go in there and it was like an experience. You literally felt like you were in Italy. Right. And you looked at his menu or you looked at his website and you looked like he just opened a week ago. Right. So, branding identity is a huge part of the whole brand experience, the whole, big picture of branding, but it's only one leg. If you look at branding as a stool, right, it's one leg out of three or four. And we have to understand that when you start to invest in your branding, that it's much more than just identity. So again, what I just spoke about, when you understand a brand's vision, value, the way they want to be interpreted by their audience, now you start to pick up on what it is that truly lies behind that brand. And the same thing goes for your brand. by getting that message out to your audience, people are going to start to connect with you. They're going to start to trust you more. But the reason why I stress brand identity, right, first and foremost, is because your brand identity is like your front line, right? It's like in the army where you have your front line. If your front line is strong, your interior will be saved. It will be safe, right? But if you don't have a strong front line, you're doomed. You're doomed. And here's why. Because people now are very judgmental, as they always were, really. And they're going to look at your brand, they're going to look at your site, they're going to look at your logo, and they're going to say, I don't trust them. They look cheap. That's the way the mind thinks. It is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, how many websites have you gone to recently where you landed on them and you were like, am I going to get a virus from this site because of how poorly it's designed and created, right? Working with starting a new project with a client this coming week. She's been in the fashion industry for years. And, her website looks outdated. It looks amateur. It looks like it's in early 2000s, right? Where she does gorgeous work. She has a beautiful service that she provides to women. And it doesn't represent that. The website and her logo doesn't represent that. And I had a conversation recently with one of my colleagues, and we got into the conversation of if your brand identity doesn't truly reflect the value that your service provides, subconsciously there's a disconnect in your audience's eyes, which makes them uneasy, which makes them turn away. All right. So the point of this video is this: understand that brand identity. So the design, the look and feel is just one part of the puzzle, and that you have to understand your brand's messaging. You have to get that super clear. How do you get that clear? You figure out who it is you truly want to serve, and you learn everything there is to know about them. Okay. And then you write down your values, you write down your mission, you write down why you're doing what you're doing, and then slowly educate your audience on all of those things, right? And that's how you develop great content, because what are you doing? You're doing your homework. You're doing your homework. You understand what it is that they need, what it is that they want, and you're simply giving it to them through your content. Through your videos, through your blog posts, through your Instagram, through your Pinterest, wherever you're out there, your YouTube channel. So I want to make that clear, guys, that it's not just about pretty logos and pretty website designs. There's a lot more depth. I always tell this story. It's about the hot guy and the hot girl you go on a date with no personality. Some of you guys might have heard this already, but you sit down at the date and you're so attracted to this person until they start to talk, and then you find out that there's no substance to them whatsoever, and you're like, get me the hell out of here. Like, that's poor branding in a nutshell. That's great first impression, but terrible substance, where you can have an opposite effect where you can have great substance, but you dress like hell, right? You see where the disconnects are? You see where the opportunities for improvement are when you look at it that way. So hope you get some value out of this, guys. Drop some comments, leave some questions below. I'd be happy to answer them for you. And if there's any topics of conversation that you want me to address when it comes to branding, design, digital marketing, please let me know. I'd be happy to help. And have an awesome day, and I'll catch you on the next video.